Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TriggerCharts pre-market rundown for Friday, February 19th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Andrew Horowitz, and I'm the co-founder of TriggerCharts. We're going to get to a lot of stocks today, some ideas, a discussion of things like economics, what's happening in the markets, money flows, what the Fed's saying, all of that in a quick 30 minutes. We do this every single Friday, so make sure to stay tuned. You can also get all this information over on TriggerCharts.com, as well as going over to our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to that. There's a way to do that. Just type in TriggerCharts YouTube in any browser, and you should be able to Google that, search that, and find all the information that's available on those videos. So you can watch them at your leisure once they are taken to the recording side and then posted. So anyway, we have a lot going on today. Of course, before we do anything, have to mention that all the information we discussed today is for educational purposes only. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Make sure you understand that any things that we do discuss, the setups, are really for your understanding of what's happening. But at the same time, we do this all in real time. Obviously, it's pre-market, so we know what's happening. But you have to make the judgment call yourself. Of course, investing carries a good amount of risk. Well, we have a pretty packed room today, which is good. I'll mention to you that if you have any symbols that you want us to take a look at, well, you could do that over in the chat. I'm going to type in the word here, over there in the chat, so pipe those through when you want. All right, where do we begin with all of this? I think that this week we have to look at what's called, I think we'll call it lessons learned. And the lessons learned right now are that we have to ride the technicals. It's been a pretty sloppy week overall. We've seen some of the names that have been the momentum plays for some time start to really roll over a bit. And when that happens, you have to make some judgments of whether or not we are going to continue to see some downside action to a point that any gains that you made on any of these positions are in fact going to be busted out, or do you want to reload on some of these? And I can tell you that historically over the last, I don't know, year or so, it's been pretty good to look at the opportunities from a technical standpoint when you reach those levels of support as good times to reload. In fact, the other side is also true. When you see that we're getting towards the upper end of a range and maybe we see some resistance forming, it usually has been a really good time to take some money off the table. So think of it kind of like rocking back and forth, where we have a situation where we want to look at a position, just any position, ABC stocks, XYZ fund, and we find that there is those upper and lower ranges until we get a significant breakout that can happen anytime, either break up or break down, of course, that you want to look at that as clues. And those clues are that we play those ranges. And when you look at those ranges, as we have seen this week, they were pretty wide, especially for some of those SPACs, the momentum stocks, the growth names, and anything that's been trading pretty hot lately. Now, when you look at those and when you start thinking about those ranges, you want to look at the fact that, you know what, you don't want to be greedy in all of this because we are at pretty stretched levels, generally speaking, with the understanding that there's still an incredible amount of overall liquidity in the markets and more coming. We have $1.9 trillion stimulus bill that's on the way, and a lot of that's going to find its way in the market. So I think that's something to think about. So the lesson learned right now is all about riding the technicals and understanding where we are. I mean, look to the right. Just look at this chart to the right. This is the IWM. Now we see this line from November down at the 150 range up to 230. That was an incredible rise. But the fact is, this is a daily chart. The long-term overall trend has been bullish, biased to the upside for some time. And when you see that, you have to understand these kinds of pullbacks, they can last a while. But we went from 230 down to about 219. Not a big deal. We're talking about a 4 or 5% overall, maybe 4% total drop and pullback. It seems a lot more from the individual names out there. A lot of them were down 10, 20% over the last week. Really not a big deal from an index standpoint. Right now we're seeing it up almost 1% this morning. So, would I have looked and liked to see it come down to 217? Yes, that would have been great, but we have to take more clues in the fact that maybe there's a lot of money chasing all of this, and you may not get to those levels. So that makes it very difficult, maybe something to just stay away from. You always have to be ready. This is a really important lesson. I want you to listen to this. You always have to be ready to add or subtract to a position. I'll give you an example of something. So one of our trading accounts, we looked at a stock called Plug Power. That thing has been on a tear for some time, invested in it, came down a bit, looking at possibly stopping out of it, in fact, just this week, and then saying, you know what, there's some support here. Not only that, we think this is in an overall bull trend on a longer term time frame, and why not think about that as a way to actually move into the position in a more active basis? In other words, why don't we look at adding to the position instead of subtracting at it right now, because we know that the overall trend has been higher for this for some time. So with that in mind, when we think about where we're going and what we're doing, we have to look at the bigger picture, step back a little bit, kind of like to say, okay, what are things looking at, right? Take a look at your screens, take a look at the trend, say, okay, I see that we have a pullback here, but is that inside of a bigger trend? And when we start to shorten up those time frames, those types of pullbacks look exacerbated compared to the longer term, because the longer term that we push it, the smoother the overall trend looks, daily, weekly, even monthly, which is a little bit ridiculous monthly, but weekly is interesting for a big picture. But support and resistance matter clearly when we look at the levels. I mean, when we look at, for example, and just look at this chart to the right just for a moment here, and we look at these levels where we see there was key support that was gathered right there, and then the key resistance that broke out, and we saw that breach there. And now we look at this next level right here of support. Well, I think that it does matter, but at the same time, realize that it all depends on what time frame you're looking at as well. So that's something important to consider. Right now, it's all about momentum. It's not fundamentals. Money in, money out, money flow, money take away. You know, what we're seeing right now is not related and grounded in anything, not for every stock, but for many stocks, we are seeing that. We know what happened with AMC. We know what happened with the GameStop. We saw what happened with Sundial. Take a look at this one. Let me just take a look and show you this. I mean, this was kind of a no-brainer when we saw this at 147 right here. I saw this at about 160, I would say about 169, 166. I said, hey, you know what? We saw that come back in right about here. We saw that come back in. Could there be an upside opportunity? There was, but as soon as we broke down, I said, you know what? This is crap. This is a pot play. This is crap. There's a lot of talk about it, right? Vaulted up from about 88 cents up to about $4 in a matter of days. But this is the same thing that we've seen before, that we want to watch out for those kinds of moves where we see that there is a significant move to the upside, these blow-off tops. Key condition, a blow-off top, and that's what that was right there. So, momentum, not fundamentals. Okay, markets appearing to have some interesting action right now. The money flow into ETFs are pushing up a lot of markets, and especially into the close. Have you noticed that we've seen a significant amount of reversals off of the bottoms? We've seen a couple of times in the morning, usually that 10 o'clock ramp that we see, the 1 o'clock. But getting towards the end of the day, that 3 o'clock, 3:30 number, lately it's been rolling back over, but there's been a push into the 3 o'clock hour, and I think there's a lot of rebalancing happening as money is flowing into a lot of these funds. One of the ones that I'm studying right now is ARKK and the whole range of ARK investments. They have brought in Cathie Wood, unbelievable performance, but has brought in an incredible amount of following recently. More in the last few months, more money has flowed into the ARK investments than BlackRock. Think about that. That is incredible. And when you look at that, when they have in the ARKK ETF, Tesla as an 8% position overall, that's a pretty hot position for an ETF. You know, you do live and die by the sword. And if in fact we do see a reversal of that, in other words, if we see a reversal from the money moving in and starting to come out, you have to wonder, just for a moment, you have to wonder, is there going to be a reversal that will reverberate through the markets? Now, I'm not saying that's happening right now, and I'm not saying it's going to happen very shortly. Because again, we know that there's going to be $1,400 checks. Well, we think there are going to be $1,400 checks sent out. Why do you think that the retail sales were up 5.3% in January? Coincides to the $600 checks that was sent out? Makes sense, right? So we know the stimulus is getting out there into the system. And we know that it's not only going to buy clothes for Johnny and ice cream for Jane. And we know it's not just simply going to buy a new refrigerator. We know a lot of it's going into accounts and there's trading going on it. So I think that is kind of been interesting. And the question I asked is it by the dip or something else? And I think it's a combination of things that are going on right now. This whole idea that we are seeing a substantial amount of money coming into markets and everybody thinking that there's a get-rich scheme happening. The other thing that's happening with market structure right now is that people aren't selling. Now, of course, there is some selling that goes on here and there, but at the moment, I'm not saying what's going to happen tomorrow, but at the moment, a lot of people are saying, you know what? We've been through some hell and back. We see that stocks have gone up and down, but in the end, kind of plotted out, kind of into the future, well, things got pretty good. And we didn't really have a problem with the overall end product of what happened. Therefore, we're sticking to our guns. We're holding. Now, in economics, initial claims are still over 850,000. Retail sales, again, I mentioned, up 5.3% for the month of January. That was huge, gigantic. The PPI, though, on the other hand, so this is the other side of this, and this is a question that came in from Robert just now about gold, which I'm going to get to, is the question of, what's happening with inflation? Inflation undoubtedly is starting to kick up. We saw that in the PPI number recently. I posted that on Twitter. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter. Andrew Horowitz is my name. Let's see if we can pull that up real quick. Anyway, I'll pull it up in the background. So you can, here we go. Excuse me. You just follow me right here. I put up a post. Let's see. I put up the sundial about what was going on there. Let's see what that post is about. Here, I put up an inflation post right there. Talked about the inflation trends, the PPI sneaking up of 2% level on a year-over-year basis. I said, I'm sure that's nothing, but it is something. We do see inflation. Look at this green line and the purple line peaking up on the unfinished goods, the PPI, the wholesale level of inflation. There is inflation that is happening. We're starting to see a lot of commodities continue with their massive trend. Make sure to follow me, Andrew Horowitz. Write that down. I'll put it right here in the chat. If I could type and I could talk at the same time. Did that come out right? Let's see. Yep. Simply that. We're looking at Clubhouse right now, too. I just got an invitation yesterday for that. We'll see what that looks like. But the themes, the eco is worsening. Our KRI went from a 5 to a 2. A lot of people want to look at that. So right now we're at a 2. We've been overdone. See that clear amount of clusters that formed right there. Very important to look at that. We saw these clusters that formed right here, all through this, and then the roll down. Now, whether or not we're done with this and the overheating, we like to see this roll back. We've seen these clusters before, roll up, roll back, base out, kind of consolidate for a while. You see right through here. And then, you get that other leg up. Again, where are we in the big theme? We've seen these come up like this. Then this one was a bigger roll down from about 350 on the SPY down to about 320. About 8% correction right there. No big deal. And then back off to the races again. We have to start looking when we see these levels get above the 4 into the 5, 6 levels. Haven't really seen that much of an overheating there, but enough to say that, well, it was overheated. We kind of tweeted that as well. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. Inflation gauges are picking up, and we are seeing that. Now, the answer or the discussion, the question that came in about why is gold falling so fast as more money is going to be printed. Maybe gold got ahead of itself. That's all that it was. I still think there's an opportunity there. Had a great discussion with Steve Lieb about gold and the idea about gold. But let's take a look at gold real quickly, and we'll talk about some of these other stocks. Gold has clearly been on a downtrend. I think it's very clear that we can see this, that has been on a bit of a downtrend, called a little bit of a short. I like gold for the long term. So this is just difference between holding for an inflation protection versus holding for a trade. There's a differential there, right? So gold's been in a downtrend for some time, kind of snuck above it right about here, then came back down over this level. Now, we have some decent support right where it's holding right about now. Gold is up about $1.167, so right on our support level. We could probably go a little bit high on that. Let me, we're going to do something different. We're going to take our tool, we're going to take our line tool and connect right there and bring that down just a little bit. There we go. So that's at what, 167.20. Right now we're 167, well, 27. There you go. So we're at the support line right there that could be holding. Now, I would want to see several days of that. The aileron has been in a negative trend, and that really was ripped down back in the beginning of 2021. Everybody's going for the Bitcoin at 52,700 as the new gold, I guess, what's happening there. Silver, if you look at that, has been on a better uptrend. We just added this to a portfolio for clients again recently. And when you look at this and you see this uptrend that is forming here, we have that big spike. That was that Reddit trade that went on. But you see what's happening here, that we have that there was a real flat base, a real consolidation between our levels. Let's just drag this and pull this over here. Our box tool right there. Okay, let's expand it. So a really nice consolidation. What happens after consolidations, right? Remember, we get that spring-like action. One of two things are going to happen. We're either going to see a break above, and it's going to catch a lot of people off guard, or we're going to see a break down. So right now we saw that there was that break up, holding well above that support. Now we are consolidating again at 25, about 25 bucks was our consolidation. Currently trading up about 2% today at 25.33. I don't know of an answer otherwise on gold. I think just exhausted the trade for a little while as it had such a great year last year. People looking for other opportunities. A lot of other commodities are doing well. Look at copper, look at palladium, silver again. I do think that gold will be probably come back. Watch for those clues. And it has some great trading opportunities. Still not moving in a big range though. Earnings, we saw some impressive results over the last few weeks. Next week, leading indicators, consumer confidence, home sales. Second reading of GDP, personal prices, PCE, that's the gauge of inflation that the Fed looks at, which they say is, there's no inflation. We don't have inflation. Just prices are higher, but there's no inflation. Don't worry. Nothing to see here. Keep going. But prices are higher. Don't worry about it. It's transitory. It's temporary. You know, that's the kind of discussion they're having. We're going to look at a variety of symbols right now and then talk about yours. We're going to go to yours first because we have a few of yours that came in. Union Pacific, you know, where is this going? You have to wonder, this is a reflation trade. This is a back to business trade. You know, obviously we see that there is a significant uptrend that's going on in the daily. I want to kind of go out a little bit and show you something. You know, since 2016, I know that's a long time. This has been on a really nice road up. If you kind of can remove this. So let's just take a drawing, right? Let's look at just a simple arrow moving higher. You know, that trend right there. If you were to take out this section right here, just kind of get rid of it, we're right on trend with this, right? So Union Pacific has a decent dividend, continuing to see that the distribution of goods is going to be important. I mean, I think this is obviously a solid looking stock if you're holding it for the long time. And when I see that people are obviously asking me week after week about the same stocks, I know you're holding this for the long time. And even probably, Steve, if I told you to sell right now because, oh my God, look at something here or there, you probably would say, well, I've had it for a long period of time. I'm holding it. However, I think there's good support here. Look, we hit right off the bottom of 203 and change. Bounced right off, currently trading at 207. We see that we saw that roll right here. Nothing major, nothing deep. And when we did even see some deep numbers on the aileron, which is a second add-on to the Commander Series package. By the way, the Commander Series is free for 10 days. You can go over to the TradeStation Trading App Store and get 10 days of free, unlimited use of the application of the Commander Series and utilize that to your heart's content. After that, it's pretty cheap. And if you do subscribe and you do come in as a full-fledged subscriber, which is not that expensive, you get $199 value back in the form of a 4-hour course. Just email us at support@triggercharts.com. So UNP, what else we got here? AMT. So AMT, yeah, this... We're starting to see a rollover here. I would really say that if you got a problem under 216, if you had a move under 216, you got a problem here. I see this general range when we look at this, and again, I would kind of really like to take that and then stretch it out and show you that, you know, we go backwards here. There's not much in this range here, you know, down to about 200. This is one of those that probably should have lightened the position as we saw a lot of these short biases, this red lines come into play here. You know, who knows what's happening with Spectrum? Who knows what's happening overall? But you know what? This is a pretty weak momentum that's happening right here. Yes, it is, well, pre-market's trading flat. Not really a stock that I'd be looking at holding on to right here. NIU, we own this for clients. This is a beast. Up 3.5% today. This is a Chinese scooter company. They make electric scooters in China. And that's a hot commodity, it seems. Anything electric, remember? We've talked about that for a while. So when we look at this and we see what's happening right now with regard to this company on a daily basis, but let's kind of go back. I want to show you something kind of on a 60-minute, very choppy action, but again, holding support really well. Got a banger right here, right? We've talked about this before. If you haven't seen this before, look at TriggerCharts, do a search for banger pattern setup. And you see that we started to get the aileron rolling over, but yet we got this move right about here where there was a hold, and we started to see that the aileron momentum started moving up and a hold of a key support level. And see what happened there? We got from 45 up to about 50 on a quick day trade that happened pretty quickly, right? Within about a 1 day, 1.5 day period. Pretty sloppy action when you kind of take it back up to this level. This was clearly a level that had to be concerned about. But now trading from 53 down to about 43 right here, holding support really nicely. I must tell you that if you look at this and we just simply go back to our line tool and kind of look down at this level right here, give or take. Yeah, we did cut under this. Let's see right there. The 40, what is that? I can't see it. It's about 45. 40, let me just go a little bit. 43 and a half. So yeah, 43 and a half was support. We cut under it on a 60-minute basis, but held really nicely. I like that setup right now, trading at 45 in the pre-market, which is, what did I say, 45.29. 45, all the way up here. You got some resistance there. You break above that, you have the opportunity to move probably up to about 47 pretty quickly on this stock. So let's see what else we got here. Miss any? Mara. This is all about Bitcoin. It's all about Bitcoin. All about Bitcoin. Did I say that enough? It's all about Bitcoin. Same thing with Riot. You can trade these on a daily basis. I mean, look at these moves. They're ridiculous. As Bitcoin is moving, 52,600 right now. By the way, futures up 75 on the Dow, 16 on the SPCE, 79.80 coming into the open on the Qs or the NASDAQ 100. This is going to see some pretty significant action right now, trading range of 60 from 78. I think the rotation on this, I mean, you look at this on a 30 minutes, probably the play. Yeah. You know, you can see these launches on the upside. Most of the action is going to happen in the pre-market on these because Bitcoin trades 24/7. And what happens is that these are actually, giving you signals pre-market. So you'll see that move. Holding on support pretty well right here. Yesterday would have been an interesting time to try to get in. These are like overnight trades that can really burn you, by the way, but could also make you a lot of money the next day. MGA. I'm thinking. I mean, it's got a good long-term chart. You got nothing going on here that's a problem. I mean, think 73.63 is kind of line in the sand on this one. It's held pretty well, and then you got a 70. So you're at 81 right now. Kind of I would think that maybe it's an opportunity to take a little bit of profit off of some of this, but yet we're up, what, 6% today? Wow, you're an all-time high today at 81. Almost an all-time high. I don't know, is there earnings on this or something? I don't know how many shares are traded. Let's take a look at a few of the other names that I brought up. QS kind of saw that range that happened. Moved up to about 71 yesterday. This one has a lot of interest in it because of the recent earnings and because they make lithium batteries and some of the things they could do. Still unproven, but yet there is the opportunity. We saw yesterday it move up to 71. This is a very fast-moving stock. We like this, bought this way down, way down here. Kind of probably in the mid-40s. Took some off the top when it kind of breached up in the 62 range. Came back down. This is what? This is daily. Yeah. I think that, this is an interesting play. Watch it very carefully. Keep it on your charts. Workhorse, another name we've been talking about. Nice rollover here. Seeing this divergence here, though, and the play right now. Remember that line we drew, 28.92, is definitely in play here. I would say that, worst case scenario, you really have to look at about 28 to start thinking about reloading. All right, what else do we got here? Pets I talked about a couple of weeks ago. That line kind of holding really well. Listen, this is, again, on a daily basis. These are just for lessons. I like utilizing daily charts for swing trades. But look how that held so nicely again right there. So we have a significant amount of support in that area. AMAT came out with earnings, and the stock is now going to be trading at 120 and change. Yeah, this chart has been just a monster. The chips are just doing really great, and that's the next one we're looking at. This is the chips ETF, the VanEck semiconductors. Obviously, a chip shortage is helping to drive some of this. CCIV, look at this beast. This is rumored to have the Lucid SPAC, where Lucid's going to do a back-end move to go IPO on a SPAC basis, and the rumor came out right about here, and you saw that move above. This has been in a long since 19, currently trading at what price? $60. Space has been all over the place with whether or not there's going to be a launch or not. What else we got? TIGR. This is really interesting. So I missed this trade a few times here because of the volatility intraday. To be honest with you, it's been moving pretty hot throughout the day. There was some great opportunities, but you see how it rolled down pretty hard from about 35 down to about 29. So that's a pretty big move on an intraday basis, which you can go short, obviously. But this is the quote unquote Robin Hood of China it's being billed as. TAN holding up on support pretty nicely, actually. We saw that support hold. This is the solar energy ETF. Pretty interesting, I think, this one to keep an eye on. A nice consolidation pattern here. Love to see it break up a little bit, break higher from here. Another one, TTCF, has been consolidating. I love these consolidation patterns, especially if you see these dips, these runs up, and then a consolidation. Oftentimes, that leads me to believe that if we can kind of breach that, which we tried to here, this tattooed chef, that we can kind of move above this, moving higher if we get some legs. And this is the Bitcoin ETF right there. So what else do we have on the movers this morning? Oops. Let's see. Movers. That's not it. Here we go. All right. Movers. You see that into the open, they're trying to pump it up. They're trying to pump it up into the open here. Right now, what do we have? Casa Systems up 25%. Moving off of nice support. What else we got? Anything else crazy? JPM, I'm not sure what some of the news is or what's happening here. It doesn't even matter. Not really, if you're trading. So remember that. Doesn't matter what the news is. Doesn't matter what the company does. It's all about the price. That's the whole point about if you're trading right here. On the downside, what do we have here? And by the way, if you don't use these on a daily basis, if you're trading, these are where you get a lot of your ideas. You know why you get a lot of your ideas here? Because other traders are getting a lot of their ideas here as well. And you want to use all the tools to understand what's happening, whether or not it's okay to ride the coattails. You don't have to come up with the latest and greatest idea on your own. You're not going to be the only one. So why not look where the trend is going, the momentum is happening, where the resistance and support is on all this, and then utilizing it for your benefit in order to ensure that you are finding those levels. So you can look at the movers and you can set this up inside of, you just kind of click on your apps and you go over and find, what is this called? This is called, all right, blank. Oh, here. All right, let's find this together because let's pretend we didn't know where this was. This is in my way. Something's in my way here. Okay, here we go. Hot list. There we go. Forgot for a second. So you kind of create a hot list. You just click that and you say, okay, what do I want to do? Well, you could drop down. You could say, what I want asset exchange. Okay, what I want? Well, just look at all the different options that are available. I want to do the rapidly rising stocks. These are the ones that after on a 2-minute basis, this is going to refresh all the time, are moving significantly on a two-minute basis. You could sort these, etc. Take a look at this, but here, it's sorted by 2-minute change. So iBio is moving pretty nicely into that. So use these hot lists, and I think that will give you some great ideas overall, and consider that. And we're going to close that. And I want to thank everybody for joining me, and let you know that we will be here again next Friday for another episode. Check out TriggerCharts. Make sure to get your free trial. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.